away with you. Look at these icy snow pebbles coming down. Not even Halloween yet. Dang. And I always like to keep an old spare tire for stuff like this. It's great for cradling the engine as you drive down the road. Another good look at that 699 oil pan, which I had never seen before, but apparently a lot of guys will use these on A-bodies because when you put a big block on an A-body, I guess this gives good room for the pitman arm or steering or something like that. So pretty interesting, this oddball block that we've got. But nonetheless, trading her in for what we really need, which is a 69-year block. Looks to me like we're a go, even with the tailgate and the shell on. Sweet. Lift it up a little bit more, get it cradled right in that old tire. Let's lower her in. Sweet. I know I cater my videos often to newcomers to the automotive hobby, and if you're more seasoned, you probably know this, but make sure you go ahead and strap things down good when you're traveling, because right now I've got this block strapped good up against the tailgate, and it's not going to go any way that way forward. You don't strap this thing down the right way, you're driving down the road, an accident happens out in front of you, a deer jumps out, something crazy like that, this whole block is just going to go and fly straight into the front side of the bed here and just put a huge dent in it and potentially hurt you and anyone else riding in the cab. So always strap down your loads and make sure to give it the old dad saying, that ain't going anywhere. Boom. All right, so we got hooked up big time. Jeremy hooked it up for us. He was really kind to exchange this block out with me for the one that, we thought was a 440, but turned out to be a 413 industrial that someone apparently bored out and made it kind of 440 size, and just kind of wasn't really what I wanted to do for this car. So this 440 comes out of like I think he said a 69 C body, something like that. So it's a pretty decent candidate to start off with. And once we get this thing pulled out here, we'll take a good look at it and see what's going on, if we can't break this thing free. And hopefully it's not as stubborn as the other one, but it might be. Looking down in here at the cam, it's actually a lot cleaner in there. So it looks like this thing had an intake on it, at least was covering and protecting that much for a while. These were the heads that were on it. They're both 906 heads, which is really nice. I don't know how long the heads were on the block or if they were separated from it for a while, because we can see a little bit of water sitting down in there, but I think he was saying this thing only sat outside for the last week or two out in the rain. So if that's the case, this block should be pretty good to go. So you can see that this thing was mated up to an automatic, because this flex plate, would have matched up to the torque converter. And something interesting also to note here, you can see the distinct outline of the factory gasket, because those factory original gaskets kind of had all those groovings and ribs in them. The more modern aftermarket ones don't typically have that same outline. So these heads are obviously original to the block and maybe were never taken off. And if they were, no one replaced the gasket, but it sure looks like to me this block was probably original to that car and never really taken apart and dismantled. So I'm not feeling a mega big ridge down the cylinder wall. So, we can get a little bit of measurement going on here and see if this thing's ever been machined and worked on. But either way, once we get it over to Rogers, that all goes out the window and we can turn pretty much anything into what we want it to be with his mastery and skills. So we'll pull this thing down and take a look at it. And oh yeah, we've got 2536430-10 for the casting number here. Cool. This one came off a C body, like I was saying, which makes sense. And beyond that, again, I'm pretty happy about this engine being original like it was. And yeah, you can see on this side very clearly where that factory gasket was too. So I'm sure this thing's a really good candidate for rebuild. I definitely trust going into this thing a little bit more than kind of what we were seeing with that 413, 440 wannabe. I think we might be able to get this thing to break free. So let's get this thing on the cart and give it a shot. Beauty. Just how we like it. All right, let's just slap these heads on here just to transport it all together down the driveway. We'll pull these off real quick. These actually look like they're in really good shape, the heads, all things considered. It's not even Halloween yet. My face is like frozen, I can't even talk, but no, it looks really good. Just a little bit of water sitting on these things, but not too bad. I'm gonna vacuum out all the rust and crap sitting at the top of all these cylinders, spray it down with a little bit of the transmission fluid and Marvel mystery oil, make sure that Roger was showing me the other week. I think this engine might actually spin over because it looks so much cleaner than the other one did to start off with. So let's see what we do about that. All right, that takes care of our shop vac portion of this job. And I know some of you at home might be thinking, damn, Frank, you're going kind of rough in those cylinders and top of those pistons and everything. But believe me, this engine is going to be machined. Likelihood of us, not having to at least bore out and get ourselves a little bit of an overbore on these cylinders is extremely low. So anything that I was doing there will be captured when we bore this thing out, machine it, get this thing, decked and running right and, really performing to where it should be. So that's not a huge concern. But as you can see, the overall condition of these cylinder walls, really pretty good, a lot better than the other one was. So let's go ahead and spray in a little bit of lubrication, and then we can see if we can't break this thing free. Mixture of Marvel mystery oil and transmission fluid. And I know some people want to say, use diesel, use vinegar. There's a lot of videos out there with different stuff. And that stuff is a bit more effective, but you know what? I don't have that stuff presently available, and this stuff does kind of work still pretty good, so we're going for it. Another little thing I wanted to clean up real quick is the data pad up here, so we can see what it is printed with, because this should read an E440, E being the year code that was stamped next to the 440 to designate the year that the engine was put in the car. So sometimes you'll notice a discrepancy where, now, let's say the casting number on the side of the block says that it's a 68-year block, but if it's got an E before the 440, that E stands for 1969, which means it was installed in a 1969 car. So block cast in 68, but installed in 69, so you could see something like that. 253-6430 is a 1966 through 72 440 RB. So when you decode that and look online, this isn't a 1 year only casting. You've got the casting number here on both the driver's side and on the passenger side, and once we come over here, I scraped away and you can see you've got 253-6430, which we know means it's a 66 through 72 440. Then you look here, you got 11/4/68, and today is October 30th, so you've got almost 4 years, almost 54 years difference between the day that this block was actually cast and we're actually looking at it and evaluating it today, 54 years later, nearly the same date. So you know that this block was cast in 1968. However, as we were looking up on that data pad, it wasn't put in the car until 69. You've got D over here at this arrow pointing for day, which meant that it was cast during the day. And then you've got this clock here and the little hand is pointing to the 1. So 1 o'clock during the day on November 4th, 1968. This 440 was born. And that's why you would say this is a 69-year block, because it was born into a car in 1969. There's a little bit of Mopar nerding out engine facts for you right there. And I will pause the rambling for a minute and we'll get to what everyone's hoping for, is seeing this thing break free. All right. Got movement on the pulley bolt, but not the block yet. Yep. We are spinning the bolt, but not the block. Okay, let's try a little more leverage. Not getting anything here. We're really good here with the lifters. The lifters are moving super buttery. So this, I'm gonna say that this thing had an intake on it for a really long time, and at least this valley pan area never got exposed. So, you know, that part of the motor is good. So it's really probably just a lot of carbon and rust and things mixed up right at the top of the cylinders, or right at the top of the piston rings where they're meeting the cylinders. So we're just gonna have to let this thing marinate a little bit longer and then give it another go. So the old girl doesn't want to budge for now as is, but I forgot I've got some diesel left in the yard, so I'll give this a shot. Put a little diesel in her. See if this doesn't help the cause. Again, a real cool thing that indicates that this is the original gasket. Look at the Chrysler Pentastar sitting right there, imprinted from that original gasket. It's pretty cool. So we'll let this diesel fuel soak and hopefully do a little bit more work for us, and we can give it another shot here, maybe tomorrow. So for now, thank you guys for watching this video, and continue to stay tuned for more stuff.